Hi, in this video we are going to talk about strings in C++. So strings in C++ can be represented in two ways. One is an array of characters. So this way is called C style strings, and other way is using an object of string class, which is a better way, which is C++ style. Since C is kind of superset of C, so we have both ways to create a string in C++. So let's talk about the C style strings first. We create an array of characters. If you notice this declaration, you will see there is a difference. Generally we create arrays like this, right? This is what we expect. Here I have used a double quote, right, around a string. What happens when you use a double quote? Your compiler puts G first, then F first, then G, then it puts a special character \0. Right? Most of these C style functions, library functions, they rely on the fact that your string must be \0 terminated. When you are creating a string, you must guarantee that there is a \0. If you just use double quote, compiler automatically puts a \0. For example, strlen function in C style strings. How does it work? It basically finds the length of a string. And how does it find the length? It begins from the first character, checks if it's a \0 or not, goes to the next character, goes to the next character, and while it is going to the next character, it keeps on incrementing the count. And when it reaches the \0, it returns the count. That's the length of your string, right? That's how strlen function works. That's how most of the other C style functions also work. They rely on the fact that there is a \0 at the end of the string. Now, what happens if I give more size here? If I say give size 6 here, then what will be the memory allocation? It will be 2 more cells with \0. This effect is same as your effect of integer arrays. If you initialize some elements, then rest of the initializer are zeros. Here they are initialized as \0. So the output of this program without this 6 is going to be GFG only. Even if you put, it's going to be GFG only, because C style string functions, the operations, whether you are printing them, whether you are calling a function on them, they all go this way. They begin from the first character, keep on printing the characters until they see a \0. So this cout str, it will print GFG. Please take a look at this program and try to guess the output. I created a character array or a string, C style string, and then I am calling size of str. So size of str, size of an array gives you size of an array. So what will you get here? You will get 4, considering that size of a character is 1 byte, because there is an extra \0 at the end. That is why you get 4, not 3 as output of this program. Let us take a look at this program. I have not used double quotes, so I am kind of creating a character array using single quotes. Here compiler does not put a \0. So if you go and print this character, if you run this program, you will get G, F, G, then you may get some characters, or you may get segmentation fault, or you may get GFG only. Why multiple possible outputs? Because that's how most of these C style strings are printed and worked. Your compiler, it will look at G, it will look at F, it will look at G, then it will search for \0. It will keep on printing the characters until it finds a \0. So if it might reach a memory which is not accessible to it, and then it might print segmentation fault, or it might print something like next character, whatever is there in memory, hash, $, and then it might stop at any point where it finds a \0. So if I'm using a character array with single quotes, I must put a \0 at the end if my plan is to use it as a string. If I'm going to print it, or I'm going to call any of these C style functions like strlen to find the length of it, or to do anything on it as a string, as a C style string, I must terminate it with \0. Or other option is I simply use double quote. Here compiler takes care of putting a \0 at the end. Let us now talk about functions used for C style strings. I'm going to talk about main 3 functions which are the most used. So the first one is strlen, which is used to find length of a string, and we have discussed an example of it. How does it work? you give it a character array, it will traverse the character array until it finds a \0 and counts the characters and returns that count. Next is strcmp. It compares two strings lexicographically, and if the first string is greater than the second string, then it returns a positive value. If they both are lexicographically same, if both the strings are same, then it returns 0. And if the first string is lexicographically smaller, then it returns a negative value. Let's do some examples of strcmpy. Let's take a look at this example. ABC is lexicographically smaller than BCD. What do we mean by lexicographically smaller? The first string is A, if we are talking only lowercase alphabet, then AA, then there are more strings, all AAAs, then AB is lexicographically greater than all these strings. Then AB, all strings one by one, AB, A, AB, A. Then AC is lexicographically greater than all these strings. So I think you got it right. When your character, which is appearing later in the sequence, appears first in a string, then this string is lexicographically greater. So we compare both the strings from the first character. As soon as we find a greater character in one of these strings, we say that this string is lexicographically greater. And if one string is A and other string is AA, then AA is obviously lexicographically greater because it has an extra character. So if I put ABC and BCD, ABC is lexicographically smaller, so I'll get the output as smaller. If I change the input, say I put here GFG, then I will get greater because GFG is greater than BCD. And if I put BCD, which means both the strings are same, then I'll get 0. Then I'll get 0 and my output will be same because both the strings are same. Before we talk about strcpy, let's take a look at this example. What is the problem with this program? This program will generate compiler error because it's an array of characters, and array of characters, if you use its name, then it gives you the address, but we can't use this on the left side of an expression because it's an array, right? We can't put a new value into this array. So this program will generate compiler error because of this line, right? I can't assign something to an address, right? I can't, and these strings are also string literals stored at constant locations in your program. So I can't assign one address to another address, which is not possible, which is like assigning an integer to another integer, like assigning 100 to 200, right? So this is not possible. So I cannot assign a string later is this way if I have created a string and did not initialize it at that time. So this is where strcpy comes into picture. I can replace this line with strcpy. So I pass str to it and I pass another string to this, and the other string, like any other C function, has to be null terminated. So this other string is copied to str, and this string is copied until there is a \0 in this string, right? So if I put GFG, I'm passing a string literal here, but we can pass another string also. I can have another string, say str1 equal to GFG, and pass str1 here. So what will happen now? Now this program works fine. I initialize the string and I copied GFG to it, and then I'm printing str, so I'll get GFG as an output. So you use strcpy to assign strings to an uninitialized character array. We just talked about C style strings. It is strongly recommended to use C++ strings over C style strings. The reasons are C++ strings have richer library. They support operations like plus, smaller than, greater than, equal to, smaller than equal to, greater than equal to. Remember what we had to do in C style strings. We had to use strcmp function to get these things checked, right, for two strings, which are possible with operators in C++ style strings. Plus operator, we can use plus operator to append one string to another string. In C style strings, there is a function called strcat that we have to use to append one string to other string. We can initialize a string empty and then assign the string later. We can do something like string str equal to str empty string, and then we can assign it later. remember what we had to do in C style strings. We had to do strcpy to initialize an empty string and then copy one string to other, right? We do not have to worry about size of a C++ string. In C style strings, you need to initialize a string because they are character arrays. So you need to, put some size and then initialize those strings. This difference is same as an integer array versus an integer vector. C++ strings are like vectors. They are contiguous in memory location. So they have this advantage of cache friendliness, and then they are allowed to have dynamic size. You can push as many characters as you want. Last point, whenever you need a C style string, whenever you need a character array, you can use a function C_str to convert a C++ style string to a C style string. So in this example, I have created a string and I have discussed some commonly used functions which are there in string class. So I create a string object this way. Please remember, string is a class in C++. So we are going to discuss classes later in this course, but to give you an idea, a class is something which has data members and functions, and typically data members are accessed through functions. So when we call functions of a class using dot operator, and there's something called object also. Object is a variable of that class, like integer variables, float variables. We have objects of these classes. We are going to talk about these things in detail, but for now we can understand there's something like class which has functions, and class is a data type. Variables of this class are objects. So string is a class. I created an object of it here, and I'm using functions on this object. So this will give me details of this object. So length function will give me the length of the string. Plus operator, it concatenates xyz to this string. So if I concatenate xyz to it, I'll get the length of the string with xyz concatenated. So first length function will give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And if I append xyz, now the length becomes 13 plus 3, 16. Right? And I'll get geeks for geeks, xyz. If I print str here, substr function, it gives you substring, and the parameters, the two parameters that it takes are beginning index and length of the substring you want to find. So this gives you substring beginning with index 1, which is e, and length 3, so it will give you eek. If I pass 2 and 4, then what it will give? It will consider the string beginning from this e and length 4. So EKSF, that will be the output if I pass 2 and 4 to this function substr. Find function, it is used to search a string in a given string. So if I call str.find and if I pass EEK, I will find index of EEK if it is present in the string. Since EEK is present 2 times in this, the find function returns the index of first occurrence. So here I'll get the index of first occurrence, which is 1. So the output of find will be 1 here. What if this string is not present? Then find function returns a special constant called a string : pause, which is string : n pause, which is used to indicate no position found for this string in the given string. So the output of this program is 13, then geeks for geeks xyz, then EEK, then 1 index of EEK in this string. Let us take a look at this program. Here I have used operators instead of strcmp function that we used in C style strings, and they are very convenient to use. I am writing s1 equal to s2. If they are same, then this condition will become true and it will work like strcmp. It will compare character by character. Here output will be greater because BCD is lexicographically greater than ABC. So the output for this program is greater. Let us now talk about reading in strings from console. Let's take a look at this program. I have created a string, then I am asking user to enter name. I am doing C in str, and then I am printing the name. This program, if I enter the name as Sandeep, when it prompts me to enter the name, and if I run this program, I'll get the output as your name is Sandeep. Now if I enter Sandeep Jain, then this program would print only Sandeep, because the cin operator, when it sees a space, it stops reading the character when it sees a space or a new line character. So how do we read strings with spaces? How do we assign Sandeep Jain to this string after reading it? So we don't use cin for this purpose. We have a different function for reading a string. We have this function called getLine. This function receives input string cin as first parameter, your string as second parameter. Now if I run this program and if I enter my name separated by space, Sandeep space Jain, and then I'll get the output as your name is Sandeep space Jain, because this get line does not stop reading until you press the enter key, right? So this get line has one more optional parameter which you can specify to specify the character after which to stop. For example, instead of new line, you can specify a character that please stop when you read A as input, right? So if it sees an A, it will stop. By default, it stops when it sees a new line character. Let us now talk about iterating through a string. So C++ style strings can be iterated this way. I can find the length and then I can run a loop for I equal to 0 to str.length and I can print stri. Please remember, like vectors, C++ style strings can also be accessed using index. I can put an index and get the ith character. So this is one way of traversing. This is another way, using for each loop. I can use colon and I can access all the elements of the string one by one using this for each loop. So in this video, we talked about C style strings, we talked about C++ style strings, we talked about functions, and then we talked about reading a string, and then we talked about traversing through a string. Please remember, it is strongly recommended to use C++ style strings over C strings. Let's not use C strings because they are very much troublesome. We have to ensure many places that we are putting a \0. We have to take care of the size, right? C++ style strings are dynamic in nature. Functions in C++ style strings are very easy to use compared to functions written in C style strings. For example, to do a concatenation, we can just call plus. To do comparison, we can use smaller than, greater than. Also, the functionalities are much richer in C++ style strings. All these functionalities are not there in C style strings. If we talk about all the functionalities of C++ string, there is a big list. We can do many things with this class. There are plenty of functions available in it. So please stop using C style strings and use C++ strings wherever possible.